What if I told you we're on the brink of the biggest financial melt-up in history? Every major asset from stocks to Bitcoin, gold, real estate is going completely parabolic. But here is the truth. What if this isn't just a massive bubble, and really this is a gigantic wealth transfer that could leave you behind if you're unprepared? Have you noticed the signs, the continuous new highs, the bad economic news releases, and just a zero correlation between the asset performance and what's really going on? Well, this is what's happening. Right now, asset prices, like I said, stocks, Bitcoin, gold, real estate, and everything else are hitting record highs. This isn't a normal bubble behavior. In fact, in a typical bubble, one or two asset classes will go completely wild because of the speculative mania, like the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s or in the housing bubble of '08. But today, it's everything. This is called a melt-up, a phenomena where prices skyrocket seemingly without a reason. Unlike a bubble, there's no widespread euphoria or fear of missing out. Instead, it's driven by big money front-running the inflation. Take Bitcoin, for example. It's smashing all-time highs, but there's no ICO frenzy like in 2017. And let's look at gold. It's been quietly climbing to record levels for months now. Even real estate, the median house price in the US just hit $420,000. Everywhere you look, asset prices are climbing higher. And like I said, the reason is money printing. Here is a chart you need to see. So what we're looking at here is the money supply chart, and you could see I zoomed it in from 2020 all the way to 2024 in current date. When the chart goes up, that just means simply we're printing more money into circulation. So looking to the far left in 2020, you could see we printed an insane amount of money, which peaked out in 2022 of January. And you could probably guess what happened next. Asset prices followed suit and started exploding to new all-time highs, of course. This isn't a coincidence, it's a cause and effect. So why does the money supply matter? Because it leads to inflation like clockwork. And here's the scary part. Inflation doesn't hit goods and services right away. It hits assets first. Let me explain what I'm saying. The stock market tanked when the government started printing money in February of 2022. But within weeks, it rebounded. Why is that? The new money went straight into assets. The stock market soared throughout all 2020 and peaked in December of 2021, which is the same exact time the money supply peaked. And to prove what I'm saying, here is a clear chart of the money supply in all the times that we've printed and the stock market's performance. In '08, when we had the recession, what did the money supply do? It popped to the upside. So they started printing, and where did the money go? Straight into asset prices, which shortly after found its bottom as soon as we peaked in the height of printing money. Then the stock market started going sideways, slowly to the upside, from about 2009 all the way to roughly about 2017. And the money printer, as you could see, was very slow and steady, which obviously showed the stock market being slow and steady as well. There was no parabolic growth happening in the stock market. Then in 2018, we had the dip in money printing, which had stocks basically do the same exact thing. As you can see, the money supply did a U formation, and so did the stock market. Shortly after, the stock market tanked, which was in 2020. And then what happened to the money supply? It did a parabolic move to the upside, which resulted in the stock market soaring to new highs shortly after. Then once we turned off the money printers because we printed way too much during 2020, stocks slowed down around their new all-time highs. Then as of recently, we started to print more money again, which has sent asset prices to all new highs, including this exact chart, which is the stock market, which just continuously climbs higher and higher and higher. I feel bad for anybody that has tried to short the S&P 500 or any asset class for that matter, because while assets seem way overbought, it doesn't matter when they're backed by money printing to stimulate a facade of a healthy economy. Like I said, this isn't just stocks, it's Bitcoin, gold, real estate, and everything else in between. Big money moves first. The CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, doesn't flinch until years later. So money printing happens, then asset prices move, then the cost of everything that you do on a day-to-day basis will be affected. And here's a stat just to drive that home. In March of 2021, a year after the money supply started exploding, the CPI hit 2.6. Asset prices were already sky high. This delay is why the rich get richer. They know how to ride the wave of money printing. But here's the thing. The money supply is growing again. The Federal Reserve was shrinking it until mid-2023, but now it's back on the rise. Now, the cycle is starting all over again. And what's fueling this madness? I'll tell you, it's government spending. The US spends $6 trillion a year, but only collects $4 trillion in taxes. That's a $2 trillion gap, or rather deficit. Now, how do they fill this deficit? You guessed it, they just print the money. And it's not the government printing the money, it's the Federal Reserve that prints the money, in which is borrowed to our government, which puts them further and further into debt. Here's something even crazier. The US national debt is $36 trillion, but the total money supply is just $21 trillion. There are more dollars owed than dollars in existence. How is this even possible? The government must continue printing if they want to keep this unsustainable system afloat. Every dollar they print is a dollar that inflates the asset prices and your cost of living. If you don't believe me, let's just take a look at countries that have had experience in the hyperinflation world, like Venezuela or Zimbabwe. Every time the governments print money to cover the spending, asset prices will just explode. Let's take a look at Venezuela's stock market during this hyperinflation that they're experiencing. As you can see, their stock market is just continuously climbing higher and higher and higher, breaking new highs almost quicker than Bitcoin is breaking new highs. But on the flip side of this, you have an economy that's completely in shambles. Why is that? How could a stock market that's supposed to resemble an economy hit new highs while the actual economy of everyone living in it is in shambles and can't even afford to survive, and in fact have to live in rations? And just because I said smaller does not mean that it's not rapidly growing. And in fact, we could be in a situation where we are in an environment just like that. So here's the deal. The melt up is real and it's happening right now. Asset prices are soaring, but this isn't just an opportunity. It's a warning. If you're falling behind, you're not positioning yourself to take advantage. You need to be exposed to asset classes if you want to reap the benefits of the money printing propping up asset prices. This is the only way to hedge the inflation that's inevitably going to come to all of our goods that we live off of. It's forcing investors to be more and more savvy to find alternative ways to make yield inside of their portfolio outside of every single asset class that a traditional portfolio would be exposed to, like equities, cryptocurrencies, commodities, and so forth. This space is evolving and people are actually finding other things that are even more aggressive to help offset this inevitable inflation that is slowly creeping into our economy. For myself, I've not only positioned myself across most of the asset classes that hit all-time highs, I've also utilized trading software to help me get more growth on a month-to-month basis to offset what's happening and what will continue to happen with inflation. If you're interested in how you can get a software that could potentially help your portfolio's performance offset the inevitable inflation coming, just hit the link in the description down below. And if not, and you just found this interesting, please leave me a like, comment, and or subscribe. It means the world to me and it makes me want to do this more than I already want to do. Like always, my friends, peace.